Hello, Long Beach. Wow. I can't believe you folks are still coming. This is really good. Just quickly, a couple things before I share some comments. Julie and I were a little late today, and I apologize for that, but unfortunately, we're sort of with heavy hearts. And a dear friend and Matt's father-in-law and Brianna's dad passed away, so we're at the services this morning. So from that, I get to pump you up. I want to try my best. But thank you so much to the Queen Mary for making this very, very special effort. As many of you in this room know, I get to have an annual birthday party in the Queen Mary. We've been doing that for 16, 70 years. Rock and roll and German food, huh? On the Queen. But we really, I really appreciate that. Commodore, what a passionate, my wife leans over and she says, he really loves his job. And so thank you for that. And to thank you to Dr. Brad Fieldhouse. Brad's over there someplace. I apologize for missing the invocation and the pledge. And as you know, Brad is the founder of Bedrock Creek, founding partner of Barnabas Group, and the executive director of CityNet. These organizations share a very common goal of blending faith-based communities with civic partners to support those in the community who we need to help most. And thank you, and by the way, with Brad, he probably doesn't want me to say this, but I've virtually known Brad since birth and his family. So thank you, Brad, for being here. And thank you, Captain Braden Phillips. We all know Captain Phillips. You talk about a guy that's every place, it's him. He is the Administrative Bureau Chief for the Long Beach Police Department, a veteran of the United States Navy, go Navy, served in Desert Storm, and was recently named the 7th Assembly District Veteran of the Year by Assemblymember Bonnie Lowenthal. He is very active in support of local organizations, and Captain, I really appreciate you being with us today. So let's give them both a big round of applause. And I'm going to say a couple words later about Chief Jim McDonald, soon to be Sheriff, Los Angeles County Sheriff Jim McDonald. We can't wait to welcome you. I know Long Beach doesn't like you to leave, but remember, I helped you. I sort of mentioned your name to get here, and they didn't like me bringing you. You know, now they don't want you to leave. Now they're mad at me for bringing. No, anyway, appreciate you on the introduction very, very much, and we can't wait for you to join the county family. I'd also like to recognize Long Beach Chamber Board Chair Diana Hendel and the Chamber's Board of Directors and the Chamber staff for making today's event possible. I appreciate that very much. And also in the audience is my staff, a lot of members of my staff, and I would only say to all of you, I would be but a dim light without the energy that they bring to making me a shining light. And I'd like my staff to please stand. Incredible, the best staff on the 8th floor, the best staff in Los Angeles County. Stand up. I truly appreciate them. They do an incredible job chasing 2 million people in 28 cities. By the way, I heard that, Randy, there were 65 electeds here today. I think they all want my job. That's why it's all coming up. You get more electeds out of my events now. But also, of course, my family, and I could say Matt couldn't be here, but my wife of 46 years, Julie's down there. She'd stand up more, but she's got that boot in her leg, right, babe? But again, thank you all for being here today, our 8th annual event. I really appreciate, as I said earlier, that you keep showing up. But since we saw each other last year, a lot has changed in the world. We have the new threat of ISIS and Ebola. The Republicans took the Senate in last week's election. Derek Jeter retired. And of course, George Clooney got married. And on top of that, I got to meet Detective Beckett from, yes, I did. What's the name of that show? Castle. All right, I just know her. I didn't know the show. Anywhere closer to home, we've also had some very significant changes here in Long Beach and around the 4th District. And I must say, nowhere are we seeing more change than at the County of Los Angeles. In a few weeks, Hilda Solis will replace Gloria Molina, and Sheila Kuehl will replace Zev Yaroslawski. We also are going to have the new sheriff in town, Long Beach's own Chief Jim McDonald. Yeah. We're going to have a new assessor once they count all the votes. We recently appointed Mark Salandino as our county counsel, and we will be replacing our retiring CEO, who's in the House, has done an incredible job during some very, very difficult times, economic times, Mr. Bill Fujioka. As well as several new department heads. So in all the time that I have been in the county, as Jim mentioned, in my nearly 18 years as supervisor and 14 as chief of staff to Dean Dana, there's been nothing like it. But let me be clear, change is not a bad thing at all. I mean, it's been said, and I agree. Change makes you flexible, change makes you smarter, and change also reminds us that anything is possible. And in fact, I think fresh perspectives are good, but this is a huge amount of change in a very short period of time for one organization, especially for one with a $27 billion budget and over 100,000 employees. And with these departing leaders goes volumes of institutional knowledge. The county, like any other organizations of its size, is hugely and very, very complicated. Having some history and understanding of how things work is invaluable to keeping operations running smoothly. Some of the changes that we are experiencing are a result of term limits. And we can argue all afternoon about term limits, and you all know that I don't support them in any way, and for many reasons, and most of them I just mentioned. Just look at the LA City Council. Of the 6 new members of the LA City Council that were sworn in recently, 4 were termed out legislators. I just don't think that's how you want to elect people to office. They don't have to make any long-term decisions because they don't have to live with the impact of their decisions. History's good. If you don't like somebody, throw their butts out by the voters. But from the county perspective, perhaps my biggest concern is the budget. The board, our great CEO, department heads, unions, and staff pulled together through the really tough economic times to keep programs and services in place, to avoid layoffs and furloughs. We got through all that without any layoffs or furloughs. Our efforts were rewarded with 2 credit rating increases to the highest level the county has ever achieved. This is unheard of in a municipal government, particularly the largest municipal government in the United States of America. Why does this matter? This matters because the county has the funding to continue to fund programs to our most needy and the services that our residents expect, to be able to make long-term investments in our infrastructure. The improved ratings also allow us to refinance some long-term debt at better rates, potentially saving the county taxpayers about $100 million over the next 20 years. And while I have concerns about the loss of the institutional knowledge and questions about commitments to prudent budgeting going forward, we also have a new generation of younger folks moving into leadership positions, and that is something that I'm really excited about. Because a lot of you have heard me say this, there is so much negativity in politics right now on both sides of the aisle, and we're not immune to that at the county level either, and I'm not even suggesting that. But some of what we see, particularly at the national level, is just plain silly. And with so much negativity in politics, I fear that we are losing an entire generation of young people, either interested in seeking public office or seeking positive, structural, good administrative roles. Public service is a great career. There are few other jobs where you can really see the difference that you have in shaping and making and helping people in their lives. As my own public service career winds down, I'm winding down. I'm asked more and more about lessons learned and what advice I would give people entering the political arena. And when you're asked this, it's sort of like getting Lifetime Achievement Awards. It really means you're just getting old, okay? But what I thought I would do today is share some of those learnings in the context of what is going on around the county. I think the most fundamental thing that I have learned about leadership, particularly during times of upheaval and change and difficult times, is the importance of staying true to your values. No matter what environment in this room that you lead in, whether it's government, whether it's business, whether it's nonprofits, there will be people and there will be circumstances that will encourage you to take the easy way out. You cannot run from the problems. You have to solve them. In our case, that means figuring out how best we can serve the people who have reached the end of their rope, either financially, mentally, or physically, or helping those who have no voice, like the young victims of abuse. These are extremely tough and very complicated issues, and the temptation could be to stall or avoid tough decisions. And I'm sure that you see this in your own organizations from time to time. Some people will say that the problem needs more study, more analysis, or my favorite, we should establish a committee or a blue ribbon commission. And we've all heard the line how effective some of these committees can be, and some can be effective, but some of them can't. But a committee is a group of people who keeps minutes and wastes hours. Now I got a little short story here. I mean, has anybody ever been in a committee meeting like this one? You gotta watch this one.
All right, let's begin this meeting of the company safety committee. Any recommendations? Yes, Carl.
It's the same recommendation I make every week.
And that is?
That somebody go upstairs and put a sign on that door on the top floor.
Well, what if we just board the door up so no one can walk through it?
Your suggestion, Tim, is that we board up a perfectly good door. Just pretend that it never existed. All because people won't read a sign. Is that your suggestion, Tim?
No, we should come up with a new sign.
Let's all take a walk and go up and look at that door once again.
There it is.
Well, that's the one. And again, your recommendation is?
To put some kind of a sign up on it.
I love that one. I feel like that on Tuesday sometimes. I love that one. Love that one. All right. There must have been a reason for no sign in that door. All right, let me give you some real-life county examples. As you know, in both the good and the bad. As you know, we have had some problems in our jails. And last year, we created a Citizens Commission on Jail Violence because we weren't seeing a strategy for change or a commitment to turn things around. In this case, we had no choice because the board didn't have and doesn't have day-to-day management responsibilities. But we needed change to happen. And this commission did a terrific job. And I'm pleased that my appointee to that commission is going to be your new sheriff, Mr. Jim McDonald. To date, 45 of their 60 recommendations have been implemented, and the others are on their way, most of them due to resource issues. On the other hand, we face some challenges in our Department of Children and Family Services. And what some children face at home each day is just absolutely horrific. They have no one else but us to protect them. I don't think, as I mentioned earlier, there's a more important job that we have as a county. I've gone out with our social workers and see what they have to do and face each and every day. They are often at risk themselves. Sometimes they have to make a decision at 2 o'clock in the morning without the mental health, the backup, whether or not that child should stay with that family. I honestly don't know how our social workers do their job every day. And sadly, sometimes things go wrong. Children are hurt, or worse, killed by those who are supposed to care for them. Unfortunately, when that happens, that's where the finger pointing begins. Earlier this year, following pressure from the media, the majority of the board decided that we should establish a blue ribbon commission to find a solution. That's after 11 months before that, we approved a 5-0 vote for a strong plan of help. And after months of hearings and study, they basically came back with a set of recommendations that the department was already addressing through their strategic plan. A strategic plan that is aggressively being executed by our director, Philip Browning, as well as more social workers being hired. But as you know, within your own organization, change takes time, particularly when you have to hire highly skilled employees like social workers. Now we're spinning our wheels on another one of the recommendations, which is to hire a czar of child protection. A czar. I personally think the resources we better spend and allocated to our social workers, our mental health workers, our law enforcement on the ground, dealing with the lives of those kids. Creating committees and commissions and task forces is very often not about solving problems. It's about avoiding the tough decisions or having the patience and perseverance to see it through, even when critics are everywhere, making headlines, holding press conferences, doing all the shouting and yelling, but not fixing a problem. And as Henry Ford once said, most people spend more time and energy going around problems than actually trying to solve them. Another excuse for stalling tough decisions that I have witnessed countless times over the years, and it's as bad as the other one, it's called boots in the cement mentality. I don't think there is a better example of this than the Affordable Care Act in Washington. The House has taken up the ACA 54 times. 54 times. And they still haven't read all the pages. But here at the county, we don't have that option. Whether you are for it or against it, you heard me say this before and on, it's here, and we have to get on board. In the last year, the county has been undergoing massive changes to our healthcare system to implement the ACA. A lot of these changes are, frankly, really good for our system. We have now re-envisioned how we deliver primary care by creating patient-centered medical homes, a team of physicians, medical assistants, and nurses getting to know a patient and focusing on their wellness and, most importantly, their preventative care. We're adding new systems and technology to help doctors share information better. We just recently launched a new electronics record system at Harbor UCLA on November 1st. And most of our other facilities will be underway next year and all scheduled to be completed by the beginning of 2016. But perhaps most importantly are the cultural changes we are making. For decades, many people came to our facilities because we were their only source for health care, their last evidence of health care anyplace. Now, with many of those folks being eligible for coverage, we need to prove that our service is high quality and patient-oriented and centered in order to maintain those patients coming to us so that we don't wind up just being with all non-paying customers. So this customer-driven system is a complete cultural shift for us and good for us. So while Washington continues to bicker, we're making things happen here on the ground. And our job at the county, as you heard me say this 1,000 times, is the ultimate safety net, is to have to solve those problems. We can't engage in partisan bickering, impart executive orders, or point fingers. The buck stops with the 5 members of the Board of Supervisors. While every day is not a picnic, we do put aside politics and work to find solutions. In the end, you will have found that most of our votes were 5-0 or 4-1. Frankly, I don't know why compromise has become such a bad word. My way or the highway simply doesn't work when you are managing the largest county in the nation. And perhaps the biggest leadership lesson that I have learned in this job is the importance of maintaining good relationships and building bridges. Nowhere have I seen this come to life more than the county's budget. People talk about bridges to nowhere. Well, this has been a bridge to everywhere. The board, technically made up of 3 Democrats and 2 Republicans, has debated, well, let's be a little honest, have argued over nearly every line of that 1,000-page budget. But we have negotiated, we have compromised, and then held strong despite pushbacks and demands from every corner of the county. We built bridges with our unions. Nearly 90% of the county's 100,000 employees are members of one over 60 bargaining units in the county. That's a lot of bridges to build. We asked our department heads to find ways to cut costs, and many achieved up to 20% reduction in their budgets despite increased demands for our programs and services during these very, very difficult times. And while you wouldn't expect members of different political parties and labor and management to be able to come together, particularly during tough times, it happened. And it happened because everyone realized that we were in this together. And what I'm really proud of what we have accomplished here, because it has such an impact on the quality of life for all of our constituents. Some jurisdictions can't even fill potholes, and yet we're able to make huge investments in our infrastructure. Let's take a look at some of the results of this bridge building that's this past year. Well, we just finished the election season. Oh, thank you. During the election season, we hear a whole lot of promises being made in the endless television ads and in our stuffed mailboxes, but what really happens? And I've always believed that it's really important to not only campaign and work hard, but to walk your talk, to embody your values and to do what you say you're going to do. So I'd like to give you a little scorecard on something that I talked to you about last year, my bucket list. Yeah, remember that? Yeah. All right. Wow, I didn't even get an Oscar for that. These are the projects I told you that I intended to complete, hopefully by the time that I leave office. First of all, I'm very pleased to update you on the new community centers in the 4th District. We opened one in Hacienda Heights just a few weeks ago. Absolutely spectacular. On time, on budget. The Rowland Heights and unincorporated Whittier centers are scheduled to open on time and on budget early next year. Each is very unique because we started from the very beginning with the community. We had them involved from the get-go, telling us what they really made sense for them or what they would like to see. When I was talking about earlier about the Affordable Care Act, I mentioned how important it is that we move to a patient-focused model that focuses on preventative care. People showing up at our emergency rooms is absolutely the most expensive way to deliver health care. However, access to preventative health care is very limited in the eastern part of my district. But we also know that we can't do that alone. So we recently partnered with John Wesley Health Centers for a community health clinic in Hacienda Heights. They've done a terrific job with us in other places such as Norwalk and others. And this lease for the clinic's been signed, equipment's being purchased, and the doors will open in early 2015. And as you know, one of the most facilities that I'm most proud of in the county of Los Angeles is Rancho Los Amigos National Rehabilitation Center. For more than 2 decades, it has been named one of the top rehabilitation hospitals in the country by U.S. News and World Report. They were recently named an LGBT healthcare equality leader by the Human Rights Campaign, and also is one of America's 100 best hospitals for patient experience by the Women's Choice Award. The place is amazing. And you heard me say every year, if you feel like you're having a bad day, go to Rancho. See the miracles that are performed there, but more important, the miracles in the patients and what they're able to accomplish. More area hospitals are referring their patients to Rancho. We've got our contracts up to speed. We've also been working very closely with the VA. We're having more wounded veterans coming back using our rehabilitation process. The board recently approved $450 million for new outpatient buildings, and a rehabilitation pool at Rancho. We're also going to be dedicating $1 million for public art and Rancho's art programs. On the other side of my district, down here and across there, Marina Del Rey, we're going to be refurbishing Oxford Basin, a water retention basin there in Marina Del Rey. And this is really a great example of doing a good environmental project while also providing recreational opportunities for the community. I wish I could tell you we were further along, but sometimes those electeds in the room know with this type of project, we had a legal issue with one of the neighbors who wanted to keep it as it was. That has recently been resolved. The funding's in place, and construction is scheduled to begin early next year. And of course, one of my all-time favorites, how about public transportation going directly to LAX? Wow! Not a mile away, right to the front door. On Metro's list to measure our priorities, the LAX connector was scheduled to be completed in 2028. Frankly, looking at this gray hair, I can't really wait that long. But I did a motion in July with Supervisor Mark Ridley-Thomas to accelerate the project to 2019 to complement the Crenshaw LAX rail project that's underway right now. And all of this should be coordinated. So we're going to be hearing back from Metro later this month on what it takes to move and accelerate that project forward. It's absolutely crazy not to be able to go there. Over the years, we've held 29 CIF-sanctioned Knabe Cups for local boys and girls high school teams. And as I said last year, I would like to establish a junior golf academy to encourage young people from all walks of life to start playing golf, use it as a learning experience. And I'm pleased to say that the county has we recently reached an agreement to my good friends out in the city of Norwalk, anybody here from Norwalk, to lease their 9-hole course. 2015, we're going to shut it down, renovate the course, renovate the community room, reopen it as a Los Angeles County Junior Golf Academy. How about that? And I just want to assure don't move anything, because I just want to assure the seniors in Norwalk who play there a lot, you can still play. I mean, we got a little flack over that, but it's okay, because I'm sympathetic to senior needs. We'd also like to offer after-school programs to provide extracurricular activities for these young people who might not normally either have access to a golf course or never even thought about trying a recreational opportunity outside. The last construction project I'd like to discuss is update on some news that I announced last year, that we are investing $45 million to upgrade county libraries in my district. We currently have 4 projects underway. Sure, go ahead. We have one in South Whittier, Lomita, and Artesia. We're also making investments in La Mirada, Los Nietos, Hacienda Heights, Roland Heights, and Catalina Island. You're in the house. I'm really pleased with how things are moving along. Some of our current facilities are just absolutely inadequate. And if you drive by there after school's out, we have kids waiting in line to get into the after school. So we have to have a real opportunity to create state-of-the-art learning centers for people of all ages. And I, as well, want these projects finished by 2016. That's why Fujioka's leaving now, because he doesn't want the pressure the next 2 years. Another area that I've been focused on is jobs. And a few years ago, during the height of the Great Recession, we've had some of the folks here over some of the previous luncheons, we launched a 10,000 jobs program, which had to be one of the most impactful uses of stimulus dollars in the entire nation. It led to thousands of permanent jobs, part-time opportunities for our young people, and it continues to roll. But what we see today is, despite improvements in our economy, there's still a lack of good jobs, middle-class jobs, or as pundits call it, a jobless recovery. We all and everybody makes promises about creating jobs, but frankly, I don't see much walk matching the talk. And what we do know is that nearly 2/3 of all jobs created here in Los Angeles County are a result of a small business. The problem is, we at the county and other entities just don't make it very, very easy to open a business. A couple of months ago, I made a motion to create a small business concierge to help people navigate our county system and figure out exactly what permits and what inspections that they need to open their doors in one place. People in this situation trying to be successful are already stressed out with financial issues and others and have a whole lot of stuff on their plate. So I think that our role should be to help them make their dream come true easier. And I don't, good. And I'm not satisfied with excuses like, well, that's government red tape and that's just the way it is. Our goal should be making the County of Los Angeles the same as like dealing with Amazon. And I mentioned to you last year that I had started a monthly public affairs television show with our good friends at Charter Communications who are in the house today too. And our goal is to educate viewers about county operations, regional politics, and we've had some terrific guests this year. We've looked at our county museums, beaches, senior services, transportation, and the election. And my most recent guest was your new president of Cal State Long Beach, Dr. Jane Connolly. We had a good time there. The final two areas of my bucket list just don't have due dates. And they were mentioned earlier because our aggressive work on these issues will hopefully continue on and on and on. The first is child sex trafficking. In all my years of government, I don't think that I have dealt with an issue that is more horrific to me. Girls as young as 10 being bought and sold by scumbag pimps right here in our own community. Many of these girls are already part of our system, unfortunately. They were abused at home and part of our foster care system. So it's our job to protect them. Earlier this year, I spoke at the National Press Club in D.C. with Congressman Ted Poe of Texas to raise awareness and lobby for federal help on this horrific crime. At the state level, I joined several legislators advocating for tougher penalties for those who exploit these young girls for money. On the tile in front of you this year, you're going to see a photo of one of our events, a bipartisan event in the state legislature in Sacramento. And here locally, we launched a new awareness campaign for our metro stations, buses, and bus stops. Clear Channel once again joined us with free billboards in very targeted areas. At the county level, we've launched new protocols for our employees as well as law enforcement, how to handle a victim. And these are the people on the front lines. And before, the girls were just arrested and their pimps went free. Today, we are doing everything possible to give the girls the services that they need to move on to the life that they so deserve. And we're putting the scumbag pimps where they belong, behind bars for a long time. And I want to take a moment to give a shout out to Chief Jim McDonald, to his troops in the Long Beach Police Department, and to the mayor and to the city council in Long Beach for the resources necessary. Their support has been incredible. And to support their officers who are working with these young victims. You know, and I just was reading this morning in the paper, one of your great catches, one of them scumbag pimps got 33 years. Congratulations. Congratulations, Suja. But I would also ask each and every one of you in this room for your help too. Help me change the stigma surrounding this issue. I know it's not a comfortable issue to talk about. It's not fun at all. But these are children who need us the most. But let's start with the language. Remove the word prostitute from your vocabulary. Stop referring to these children as prostitutes or child prostitutes. They're victims. Kids who are forced to sell themselves night after night on a street corner are not prostitutes. Kids who are brutally beaten by their pimp for not making a quota are not prostitutes. Kids victimized, sexually exploited by grown men are not prostitutes. No child grows up dreaming of becoming a prostitute and living that hellish, horrific life. They are victims. Victims. They're manipulated emotionally and physically into one hellish life that none of you in this room nor I can imagine. So we need to be there to protect these victims. We need to wrap our arms around them, get them everything that they need on the road to recovery and the path to a better life. And finally, the good news side of that, a program that Jim mentioned early on that's meant so much to me over the years, Safe Surrender. And as he told you, we've saved 100 and last year I told you 112 lives. We're up to 124 this year. And I told you last year that I wanted to launch a Say Surrender Scholarship program for the children. And thanks to the Long Beach Community Foundation, we were able to set that up and get it running. We'll be notifying the families of the fund shortly. I also want to thank the Chamber and its Board of Directors for its support. $40,000 of today's proceeds are going to help fund that scholarship program. Thank you all in this room. And again this year, the Chamber will also continue supporting local nonprofits through the event, two of which continue to be very important to me, the U.S. Vets and the Ronald McDonald House. U.S. Vets is the nation's largest nonprofit provider of services to veterans facing challenges as they transition back to civilian life. U.S. Vets helps those folks struggling by providing housing, counseling, career development, clothes, other support to help the veterans and their families get back on their feet. Unfortunately, in Los Angeles County, we have the largest homeless population of veterans in the United States of America, a sad number. And recently, earlier this week, we made a huge announcement that U.S. Vets has moved into the historic Bob Hope Patriotic Hall downtown Los Angeles. They're the final group to be a part that truly makes the Bob Hope Center a one-stop service center for our Los Angeles County military veterans and their families. I'd like to recognize Christy Day, the Executive Director of U.S. Vets, is here, I believe, right over here. And then there's Ronald McDonald House. That's a good picture of me and Ronald McDonald, isn't it, man? I like that. And they provide, as you know, low-cost temporary housing for families of seriously ill kids who are receiving treatment either at Miller's Children's Hospital or other local medical facilities. And Sherry Bosley. Sherry, where are you? Are you here? You're in the room here. Sherry got me to make a fool of myself the other night over here next door, that Few Good Men thing, where I sort of boogied down the runway. But ladies and gentlemen, you know, I've spoken today about leadership and what has motivated me throughout my time as supervisor. But I think what has struck me most about this job has been the power to help people and make a difference in someone's life. And as I said, I'm asked a lot about how I got to this job. I never had a plan to be a county supervisor. And I certainly never dreamed about being a county supervisor. And frankly, it can be tough to chase 2 million people. And I'm not complaining about that at all. I'm incredibly honored to have this job. But sometimes when you look at the millions of people we serve, the $27 billion budget, and the 100,000 employees, and you wonder what the impact of one person could be. And then I see a difference a community center can make to an older person who may be lonely because of the county, or the difference a library can make to a child who does not have a quiet or safe place to study, or the difference a free concert in the park can make to a family who can't afford a night out, or the difference that we can make to a young entrepreneur who's opening up her dream business. And I'm inspired by a young lady whose life has been pure hell, beaten if she didn't make her quota. She is finishing high school, moving on to college, and finally, because of the county, able to have the life that she deserves. I'm inspired by the family created in a Say Surrender situation, and seeing the love in the new parents' eyes, of the sweet sounds of new siblings bickering, as all brothers and sisters do. So I guess when I consider leadership, I want to think about what really matters, and that's how I and my staff can help someone who needs it most. And I think a Nobel Prize winner said it best. I never really thought in terms of being a leader. I thought in terms of helping people. So I want to wish all of you, thank you for being here, but I want to wish all of you a happy Thanksgiving, and from the Knabe family to all of you, however you celebrate the holidays, may you enjoy a beautiful season of blessings and a prosperous, and most importantly, a healthy new year. May God bless you. May God bless our troops. And may God continue to bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Supervisor Don Knabe. We love you. As we conclude today's programs, I'd like to thank SMG Catering, the staff. I'm Ms. Simic, General Manager Veronica Quintera. Also, thanks to the Long Beach Convention Center, Entertainment Center, Charles Beard, our General Manager. Thanks to Andrew Crane and the audiovisual people, Sal Martinez. I want to thank the Chamber staff, your dedicated work, and my Executive Assistant Vice President Special Events, Samantha Cardenas. It wouldn't happen without you. And, of course, the Queen Mary, and thank you, John Jenkins, for making this happen. Now, these tiles, they're in the middle. Don't forget your tile. Go now, pick it up, and don't forget, don't take the table signs or the signs, or the flags, but take the tile. And parking gates are up, no validation needed. Thank you, and good afternoon, everybody.